Okay, so next up we have collaboration and communication. The first phrasal verb that we have is the phrasal verb bring up. So bring up basically means to introduce or mention a topic during a discussion or a meeting. So in terms of a family, it means to raise a child. So it's quite different. So the context is definitely important here. So bring up in a family context, it means to raise, whereas to bring up in a meeting means to introduce a topic. So again, let's look at the example. So let's bring up the issue of security in the next team meeting. So perhaps this issue hasn't been raised previously and it's a new concern that they have. So they want to ensure that the important topic of security is addressed in their upcoming discussion. So very useful phrasal verb. The next one is to take your time. This is an idiom. This is not literal. It basically means that you can spend as much time as you want doing something. So, for example, you might say, take your time. The deadline isn't until next month. So it's an interesting phrase because take your time often just means take it easy or go slow. It doesn't mean take forever. It just means you have time. Don't worry about the deadline. It's relaxed. You know, the situation that we're in is quite a relaxed situation. So it's often a courteous phrase, but sometimes it can be used sarcastically if someone is taking too long. So do be aware of the tone of your speech. So that does impact how it comes across. So again, taking your time, the deadline isn't until next month. So in this context, the speaker is encouraging them to do their work at their own pace. So they're encouraging them to not feel rushed and to feel under pressure. So that is the main takeaway here. Basically, it's a way of saying don't feel pressured, relax. Okay, so next up we have good to go. So again, this is an idiom or a phrase, and it's used informally to say that something is ready to go and it's expressing their approval. So, for example, you might say, we fixed the reported bugs and the latest software update is also good to go. So again, it's a very casual way to express something is ready to use or is approved for use. And it just means that all of the adjustments have been made and the software is ready for deployment. So once your code is finished, you might say, yep, it's good to go. Or if someone asks you a question, have you done the unit test? You could say, yep, the unit test is completed. It's good to go. So again, that's another great phrase that you can use. So again, this is an interesting one. So a fresh pair of eyes. So this again is an idiom. So I don't know why it says noun there, but I guess it is a noun as well. So it is a person. So a fresh pair of eyes is a person who is able to look at an issue. So if you want someone to be a fresh pair of eyes, you might say to them, could you look at my code? I think I've done everything correctly, but I need a fresh pair of eyes to verify my code. So another example could be, it looks okay to me, but I need a fresh pair of eyes to check that my calculations are correct. So again, the implication is that we benefit from a second opinion. And this is very typical in QA, so quality assurance. So people in quality assurance will always want to give a fresh pair of eyes to their colleagues. They want to support them and they want to be able to find any bugs in the code. So, yep, very, very good. And you usually do this when you value the other engineer. So if you value another engineer's time and you respect their skills, you might get them as a fresh pair of eyes. So the idea is to get the best results or the most accurate results and to find any bugs in the results. So when you get a fresh pair of eyes, usually it's from someone who you respect and you're looking for technical guidance or you're looking for some feedback. So a very good one in the QA process. Okay, so the next one is a phrasal verb, and it means to run someone through something, typically in a very cautious and slow way, in a step-by-step way. So yeah, it means to guide or to explain something to someone in a step-by-step manner. So for example, you could say, in your first week, we'll run you through the company policies and introduce you to the team. So it doesn't mean literally to run someone through something. It just means that they will guide you in your initial week and you will receive a thorough overview of the company's policies and their colleagues. So again, the emphasis is on step-by-step explanation, especially for new or complicated processes. So another example might be if you have joined a new team, you might have, so say you're in the cybersecurity team and you're working with the front end engineering team, you might have one of the senior front end engineers run you through the front end JavaScript code. Because you're a cybersecurity engineer, maybe you're more familiar with some back end technologies. So therefore, they would run you through the front end panels and the front end JavaScript code. The next one we have is to tune out. So again, this is a phrasal verb, which means to stop paying attention to something or to become disinterested in something. So you can see this lady, she just doesn't look very excited. She looks quite bored. So that's what it means to tune out. So again, a great example would be during long meetings, people tune out. So let's look at the example sentence. So during the long meeting, some members started to tune out. So again, this just means to lose interest, often during long or irrelevant discussions. So in a software engineering context, I often tune out of very long meetings, whereas in a stand-up, I don't tune out of stand-ups. They're often very quick and very effective. So I often don't tune out of stand-up meetings. So this is a great term, to think outside the box. So this basically means to approach a situation or a problem in a creative way. So if you imagine a box is kind of the standard way of thinking, if you're thinking outside of the box, you're a bit different. It's quite creative. It's very original. So an example might be, we need to think outside the box to come up with a unique marketing strategy. So originally, this came from the 9 dots puzzle, which was a problem created in the early 20th century by a British mathematician, Henry Dewdney. I might be mispronouncing that. Dewdney. And so yeah, this is a very interesting and explanatory phrasal verb. So it basically implies that the conventional methods might not be enough and you need some fresh ideas. So let me try and think of an example of thinking outside the box. So recently, Elon Musk literally caught a rocket. People didn't think that was possible before, but you could argue that Elon Musk thought outside of the box and decided to try and physically catch a rocket. So again, that could be thinking outside of the box because it's not conventional to do that. It was a first. So the next one we have is to sleep on it. And it basically means to just wait before making a decision. So if you have a very important decision, you might sleep on it and then make the decision. This allows for better decision making. So for example, you might say, you don't need to give me an answer now, but sleep on it and let me know whenever you're ready. So again, this is commonly used in important decisions. So if you are merging from staging to production, and I don't know, perhaps you would sleep on it and then merge to production the next morning. The reason you might do that is it might give you more time to think about your changes in more detail and just to process what you've been doing. So that's a very good phrase. So next up we have to touch base. So to touch base basically means to talk to someone for a very short time to find out how they are or what they think about something. So it's originally a baseball term. So that's why we have a baseball picture here. And if you touch the base, you're touching a part of the baseball pitch. So I'm not American, so I don't know much about baseball, but you're touching the base, presumably to stay in. So that's where the phrase has come from. So let's look at an example. So I just wanted to quickly touch base with you and find out how you are enjoying your new position. So again, this indicates that the speaker is reaching out for a quick update on the other person's experience. So again, you might touch base on something like a small code change, or to get someone's opinion before you make a change in the code, you might touch base with them. So you might say, hi, I'm thinking of implementing this new ETL pipeline that will streamline data processing. What do you think about it? And they might just quickly reply in like 5 or 10 minutes, and that would be it. So that would be you touching base with this person. So the next one, crunch the numbers. So crunch is a great word. So crunch is an onomatopoeia. So it sounds how it reads. So when you read it, crunch, it actually sounds like that in real life. So crisps will crunch when you crush them. I guess this is a rice cracker, so that will crunch when you snap the crisp or the rice cracker. So that's the word crunch, but we're not going into that. So crunch the numbers is an idiom, and it just means to analyze and process large amounts of data or financial information. So again, this is often used in finance or kind of heavy mathematical computational processes. So if you're doing something manually, you might get your calculator and crunch the numbers on your calculator. So for example, we sat down to crunch the numbers and we realized we couldn't afford to hire a new employee. So this suggests that after reviewing the financial data, they realized that hiring someone new was not possible, or it didn't make sense, economically speaking. So again, you might crunch the numbers when you create a new ETL pipeline, because you're going to now calculate how long it takes to process 2 terabytes of data. So maybe that you have to calculate that somehow, and you just calculate the runtime of your script or whatever you're running. So that might be you crunching the numbers